What's going on? What's going on, Facebook family? This is Mr. Matthew Taylor, the Millennium Multimillionaire Tailor-Made Wealth Builder. And so it's so exciting to be here with you today. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about the importance of how you can, a place where you can flower. All right. And so if you look here, guys, this is a common myrtle. And so, this is a common myrtle, guys. And so this right here is a beautiful this is a common myrtle, and normally, guys, in this time frame, it doesn't flower. But when you put yourself in a place where you can thrive, a place where you can blossom, I mean, anything is possible. And so I just wanted to show you guys that, and honestly, it smells just wonderful. This is a common myrtle once again, and normally, guys, it's literally it's still January. This plant normally would be dead if it was outside. Everything would have contracted, and literally wouldn't be here. And so this is where you want to be. You want to be like this plant right here, where it's thriving. So if you look down below, it's had to do some shedding. And so that's what I want to talk about today. Is I want to talk about the importance of being able to place yourself in a position where you can flower. I had some issues with Facebook. That's why it took me so long to get on here a little bit this morning, guys, but it's all good. And so we're once again, this is Matthew Taylor. We're all about, building resilience, building and showing people the opportunity where you can literally grow, build resilience and find opportunities so that you can build your wealth. And wealth is not just money. Wealth is a host of things. Wealth is, love. It's social capital, living capital, dealing with plants. It's of course it's financial, but it's also cultural capital. All these different ingredients all come into one. And so, guys, it's so important that you understand the importance of positioning yourself to grow, positioning yourself where you can thrive. And so you want to be like this common myrtle here, where it's producing flowers. And sometimes you have to put yourself in a position where you're uncomfortable. You have to put yourself in a position where it's something that you're not necessarily used to. And this is what's happening over here. Normally it's an outdoor plant. It was outside, but we put it in the house. And so the conditions were a little different. It looked like it was dying. I mean, between my wife and myself, we didn't know if it was going to make it. But because over time, as we put the right conditions in play, we put the lighting, we make sure we had a grow light going on, make sure the humidity was cool, as far as, the right temperature, all that kind of stuff. So it's the same way with your life. If you want to position yourself where you want to flower, you have to create the right conditions to do that. And what do I mean by that? We talked last time about being like the tree that's planted by the river of water. Well, it's the same concept. In this season, you want to go ahead and position yourself. Take the seeds that you have and put it in a place where, it can thrive and grow. So there are some people who are all at different stages. There are people that have positioned themselves where they've planted themselves in something. They're waiting for a harvest. Well, guys, there's so much energy behind flowering of a plant. People don't know about that. Where you have literally the plant has to grow. It has to develop structure. It has to develop support. The roots have to be established. Then you have to have leaves, foliage. That takes energy to produce. You have to prune that thing. And in the pruning process, which is what just happened here, literally the last couple months, is there was a shedding. It has to shed all the old stuff, all the dead leaves, all the sick leaves, all the things that were not allowing it to grow and thrive. Because when you flower, when you really begin to produce, when you begin to really show forth the version of your best self, you're going to have to shed off some old things. You're going to have to shed off some old people. You're going to have to shed off some circumstance, some things that you used to do that you cannot do anymore. If you want to really thrive and position yourself to become the best version of yourself, you're going to have to really know what it takes to be a flower. And to flower, it takes a lot of energy. And so some of you, I have business partners that I'm connected with. It takes a lot of energy to really thrive and to flower and to blossom. So many of us want to be millionaires and multimillionaires. So many of us want to be free, have financial freedom, have time freedom. What's going on, Danny D. James? Good to see you, brother. We want to flower. We want to really expose the best version of ourselves. We want people to be like, oh man, you did it, you made it. But there's a process involved with that. Without the process, you cannot get the product. Without the test, you can't get the testimony, right? And so that's where you have to position yourself to flower, because the world is waiting for you to manifest the fragrance that you have. That flower is releasing a fragrance into the atmosphere. It's releasing a fragrance of beauty into the atmosphere. It's releasing a fragrance of smell. It looks good, all those things. The same thing is happening to you, but you have to be patient with yourselves. You know, one of my mentors, Mr. Best, always talks about, give yourself and your team time to succeed. Give yourself and your business time to succeed. Give your life time to develop. No matter where you are, we're all in self-development. What's going on, Cousin Lakeisha McKnight? We're all in self-development. We're all in a process of growing. We're all in a process of flowering. We're all in a process of becoming the best version of ourselves. But in order to do that, there has to be some conditions set in place. It's going to require you to turn off the TV. It may require you to take some late nights. It may require you to get up a little earlier. It's going to require something more of you, because more energy is involved in the flowering process than in any other part of the process with plants. It requires, like I said, that pruning. It requires you to make sure that you get adequate amount of light, adequate amount of energy. That means you need to be in tune with God. You need to be in tune with your source. I don't care what you believe, but you have to be in tune with it, because a lot of these things are spiritual. If we don't lock in with our spiritual selves, if we don't lock into what's inside of us and knowing who we are, what we've been called to do for such a time as this, it's going to be hard for us to really thrive. It's going to be hard for us to grow. It's going to be hard for us to be the best version of ourselves. That's right, Danny D. James. We got to weed out those weeds and then add fertilizer, because that fertilizer, although it doesn't smell good, although it puts us in an uncomfortable position, although it puts us in a place where, you know, people may not want to be around us because right now we're being buried, because right now we're in the ugliest part of our lives right now. People don't want to be around you because you're always talking about business, or you're always doing this, you're always doing that. That's the time where you're fertilizing. That's the time where you're digging up you're literally putting things in place that don't smell good, that don't feel good, that you want to spend extra time with doing this with your kids, or that with your family members, but you have to set time aside to build something. That's the process of the fertilizer. I love what you said, Danny D. James. That's the process of the fertilizer. That's the process that is uncomfortable. That's the process we have to go through. Even when I had this common myrtle back there, guys, I took out the old soil because it was washed out. There was no nutrients for the roots to pull anything. And think of yourself as a plant, right? And your roots have to be connected to something. Either your roots are connected to a world that's dying, to a world that's all being manipulated and controlled, and between the markets, between the media, all those different things, or you're being rooted and grounded in something higher than that. Because that's what I'm a part of. I'm a part of first of all, God's kingdom, first of all. And then I'm connected to people who are also rooted and grounded not only in love, but rooted and grounded in a system that's going to allow them to grow. That's what this is all about. And even when we talk about, Financial Fridays, guys, you want to root yourself in positions that are allowing even your wealth to accumulate. So many people are afraid to let their money move. They want it to just sit still and hold. That's a poor man mentality. But when you really begin to understand what money is, because money is not currency. Money is not paper. Paper burns. Paper is quick. But when we're talking about something that can flower, something that can produce, and it takes energy to produce, think about this right here. This is gold. It takes energy to produce this. This is silver. It takes energy to cultivate and find this. Normally, they don't look for this. They normally find it when they're looking for this. That's gold. This is silver, right? And then even behind Bitcoin, it takes energy to create these things. It takes energy. So when you want to flower your wealth, when you want your wealth to blossom, when you want your wealth to accelerate and to do all these amazing things, you want to be a millionaire, you want to have time freedom and financial freedom, it takes effort and energy for your seed, for your plant, for the foliage, which are the leaves, to begin to flower. For your plant to begin to flower. It requires that energy. It requires that extra effort. It requires you to make that extra call. It requires you to talk to that person that you feel like they're either out of your league or they're beneath you. No. Everybody needs an opportunity. There's a scripture that talks about the whole world groans and aches for the manifestations of the sons of God. And when I'm talking about sons, I'm talking about both men and women, because we're all children, right? We're all children of a higher power, which is God, right? And so we are literally not walking in our true selves when we're not connected to our source, when we don't learn from these plants, because they are always thriving in abundance. Yes, the environment shifted. I've got several plants in here. I got lemon trees, I got moringa. They normally are outside, but they've adjusted and adapted themselves to this environment. And I've literally controlled the environment, produced an environment that allows them to thrive. You may not be able to control all the outside sources, but you can control some things that are happening in your home. You can control some things that are happening in your relationships that are going to allow you to thrive. It just requires extra effort. It requires you to connect a little more with your spouse or with your loved ones, your family members. It requires you to connect a little bit more with your business partners, those who are struggling or don't necessarily understand what you're doing or are plugged into the system. It just requires a little bit more. So if you want to flower, if you want to position yourself for greater, you have to really put in that extra effort and then allow God to provide the water and the increase, and you will see things begin to open up in your life. You will see yourself starting to blossom. You will see yourself starting to flower, because everybody is meant to flower, and we're all different. We are all different flowers placed in different spaces and in different places. We all have something different to bring to the table, but we have to know what our fruit is. We have to know what our fruit is, because we need to be strategically planted in different places and different spaces so that people can see not us, but the power, the depth, and the scope that lives inside of us. So I want to encourage those that have not positioned themselves. If you want to position yourself financially, get back with the person that shared this and let them know that you are looking for some better ways financially to blossom and to find a place to flower. And we're going to show you how you can do that. If you want to do it spiritually, I pray that you seek God, that you find that place where you can connect and tap into the source so that he can give you some resources. This is what it's all about. It's also about connecting with people, finding those places. If you're starting a business, if you're trying to find a job or whatever you're trying to do, because your life is greater than a job. People think that I hate jobs and all that. I don't hate jobs as long as you're walking in purpose. But so many people allow jobs to control their life that they don't realize that they're working for somebody else instead of working for themselves. They're building somebody else's kingdom instead of establishing their own. And my word tells me to establish his kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. So let's start walking in that abundance. Let's start flowering. Let's start showing people that they can become the best version of themselves and they can flower. So thank you so much, guys. This is Mr. Matthew Taylor, your tailor-made wealth gardener. And guys, we're independently gifted, resilient opportunists of wealth. And let's go out and share the wealth with other people and let them know that they can plant some seeds and that they too, over time, can reap a harvest. Thank you so much, guys. I'll catch you on the next one.